Hello guys, today we're going to be creating a very simple application that lets you use two different buttons. One button will go to a page called Login Page, and the other button is going to go to a different page called the Registration Page. So let's get started here. Okay, so automatically when you begin a project, it already has the main activity for you, and it has the activity main. So for this one, we know that we're going to be using a total of 3 different pages because we're going to start off on one page. That page is going to have the login and the registration button. The login button is going to go to a page called Profile Activity, and then the registration button is going to take you to a page called Registration Activity. So the way to create that, you can go to, because right now you're not going to have these. The way to create that, you're going to right click, New. You're going to go to Activity, and you're going to go to something called Empty Activity. Okay, I already have Profile Activity, but I'm going to do it here, Profile Activity. Okay, and then you're going to click Finish, and it's going to create Profile Activity. Now do the same for the Registration Activity, and then we can get started. Let's begin with the activity main. Okay, when you first open up an activity, it's not going to be linear layout, so I want you to change that to linear layout. I want you to add orientation vertical. What that means is that anything that we create is just going to be in the exact same order of what we put here. The background color, you don't need to worry about that. I added that, something I already had. But just make sure that orientation is vertical. Now we're going to add a button. Let's do wrap content for now. Wrap content. We're going to want the text. The text is going to say login. If we want text size, we're going to, how about, let's do 18 SP. Now you see how it's kind of big there, so it doesn't really fit. I don't think it looks that great. We're not going to take too much time there, but I like the height is okay, but the width, let's make it about, let's say 150 dp. Okay. Now, if you don't like the spacing there, you can always do something called padding. You notice how there's not too much room there. Let's just do 10 dp. Now there's room between that, and that, and it kind of centers it. So that's all we're going to do for that one. Oh, one important thing here. Always remember, especially with buttons, you have to give it an ID. That is the only way that you're going to be able to use it in the code. So let's call it login button. Something that makes sense to you, even if it's long. One way to do it, you can just go here, because we're going to be creating basically the same thing. And then paste it on there. It highlights it because we already have something called a login button. This one's going to be called the registration button. Okay, and of course we're going to change the text to register. Now if you don't like the spacing there, I'm just going to do it for layout, linear layout. You can do something called margin top, and let's just do 20 dp. It gives a little bit more space. You can also even add that if you don't like it, if you don't like the first button being that close to the top. Margin top is going to be 30 dp, and it brings it down. Another thing that you can only do with linear layout, remember, is called gravity. You're not going to go to Android gravity, you're going to go to Android layout gravity. You can center it. Okay, so let's do copy and Control V. Alright, so we're just going to leave it at that. Now let's go to profile page. You see here, well, let's change that to profile page. I went ahead, just added the linear layout and an orientation to vertical. Okay. I did wrap content, I named the text profile page. That's what's going to appear here. The text size is 40 SP. Layout gravity, again, only because I did linear layout, center. And then margin top. Okay. This I'm only doing because I want the visual representation of what we did. So you can do the same thing for registration, same thing. We don't have to give this an ID because we're really not going to be working with these pages anyway. Just call it registration page for now. So now that we're done, let's go back. Remember, we called it login button and registration button. Now, let's go to main activity because that's where our buttons are at. Button. We're going to be working with something called login button and registration. Okay. That doesn't have to be the same name as the ID, by the way. In fact, I like calling it something a little different anyway, so I can tell the difference. But login, now it's blue. We're going to do something called find view by ID, r.id. And what was the name that we gave the login button? We gave it the ID of login button, semicolon, and then let's do the registration. Registration equals find view by ID, r.id, and registration button. Okay. Not sure why it didn't give me the option there. Okay. Now, there are different ways to do this, but for this one, we're just going to do button. Let's call it button login on click here. View. And then, okay, so intent equals new intent. When you're doing this, it always gives you like a pop-up. I'll just hit enter. It usually gives you the right thing, comma. Okay, now let's pay attention. This button login click. When you click button login, where is it supposed to take you? What page is it supposed to take you to? We know that it's supposed to take you to that profile page. So we go to the profile class. And remember, this profile, we're going to the activity. We're going to the Java class. That's what you need to do. And then dot class. Okay. And then start. We're going to start our activity again. Okay, so everything's good to go. We can literally just copy here and Control V, we paste. But now there's a problem there, and that's because this is the same name. So let's change that to register on click, and everything should be okay. There should be another one there. All right, now to move on, we're not done yet. It's not going to work. So we need to go back to our main activity where the buttons are at. I like to go to the design part right there, the one next to the registration. Click on that login button, and there's something called on click. You're probably going to have to scroll down for a little bit. You see how it's got button login on click? And now let's go to the register page and button register on click. And that's pretty much it. That's all that's going to happen right there. So now, I had that running that entire time. Now that we've made those changes and added all that, we can test it. You might have a virtual device or not sure. Okay, so to get it to run, you're gonna hit that. Right now it's running. To get it to run, you're gonna hit the play button, right there. Okay, so now we have the login, the register. That's the default, what it starts off with. We click login, and yes, when you log in, it goes to the profile page, and that's why I wanted to have that writing there so that you could tell that it's working correctly. Next, register. Okay, and it goes to profile page. And why is that? Let's see. Let's stop that. You see here when I did a copy and paste. Oh wait, I did a copy and paste there and I forgot to change that part. And that's why it's important to do that. Registration activity. Now let's check. Okay, again, login works just fine, and now register, and it takes you to the registration page. Okay, and that's it. Thank you.